All right, I hope your mouth is watering because this time on Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking to a great panel of guests all about wild game recipes.
I'm KJ. You found the right place. We go all over this little blue orb, sharing stories and tactics about chasing wild game. Now, let's get on the hunt.
Welcome in, all you Gun Talk Hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and today we're talking all about wild game. It's what's for dinner. I've got a great panel of guests here, but first, we are brought to you by Vortex, Remington Ammo, Range Ready Studios, and Timney Triggers. A great new panel this week. We'd like to welcome everybody in, but first, let's head over to one of my favorite people, Mia. You're all the way out there in Colorado. And when you start talking about wild game, I think you live off of it. You and your husband, two of my favorite people, you guys live off of wild game.
Pretty much.
So what do you look for when, let's start about like the kind of the pre-hunt, like, or the post-hunt, like preparing of the meat and getting that established and into, your freezer. How do you start prepping your game after the shot?
So I would back up just half a step, KJ, because I think the prep starts with the shot.
Yes.
If you make a good shot, it helps to make great tasting game meat. But once we get the animal down, hopefully we make a good shot, it dies quickly. The thing that I've found is the best is to get the hide off, cool the meat down as quick as possible. Having hunted in Oklahoma also, I know like you have the whole whitetail, and so if you have something like that, you want to get the entrails out, get that meat cooled down quick. For us, you're thinking elk because that's what we hunted here together. Yep. And it's something that I always have in the freezer. Their hide is pretty thick, so you want to skin that down, get them, keep it clean and dry, and put it into game bags right away, and hopefully get it home to a cooler quickly.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger things is getting that hide off, and you've hunted antelope too, and typically when you start hunting in September, those months can be a little bit, they can swing both ways. You could get real cold or you can be really hot, and I've hunted in really hot September days, and I think when I was with you guys hunting elk, it was hot, and getting that hide off and cool down quick is going to preserve the meat much greater.
Absolutely. And that's something with being in August right now is antelope season in Colorado and New Mexico starts, mid-August around the 15th. And if you can have an access to a cooler that maybe plugs into your truck or camper and get that deboned and throw that antelope meat in the cooler. I don't know if I told you the story about how Hank, when we first met, told me he hated antelope meat, and we had shot one during archery season, immediately got it on ice, and I secretly fed it to him for a couple weeks, and my daughter would giggle at dinner every night until finally he said, "What are you guys giggling about?" And we're like, "Remember that meat you hate so much? You're eating it right now."
Oh, come on. Don't do Hank that way.
Throwing him under the bus on Gun Talk.
I will say, like, as far as like antelope is concerned, I am not much of a fan. Like, it has more of a, like, especially the what I've had in Wyoming, that's really the primary antelope I've eaten. It has a very sagey taste to it because that's what they're eating.
Yeah, and that's something that, like I said, just back up and figure out where you're going to hunt, because that particular antelope was in the grasslands, and so it wasn't eating a lot of sage. And that's something, too, when we're hunting mule deer here locally, I kind of go back and forth if I'm going to shoot. It has to be a really good buck to shoot it in the sage flats, because that's a flavor that I've had a hard time getting out of the meat. But what you generally do is plan your recipe around that sage, like include the flavor into the recipe.
Yeah. Well, that's a good idea. I never thought about it that way. But let's talk about elk. Let's talk about something that you cook a lot of. If my wife and I were coming over to dinner, what type of elk would you cook?
Well, generally it varies depending on like what's in season as far as vegetables and stuff. Like right now I've got my garden growing. We've got a lot of cabbage out there. Bell peppers aren't quite ripened, but generally, I think elk fajitas are a go-to even at hunting camp. Is something that almost everybody who's come to visit has had elk fajitas at my house,
I have,
including
and it was
KJ.
awesome.
Fajitas and tacos they're a staple in my kitchen.
Yeah. I did, and I should post this, and I'll post the recipe. But I did an elk heart bruschetta, with a garlic herb aioli sauce, and as an appetizer, like don't sleep on the heart. Like if you're getting rid of any elk hearts, I will take them because they're great in a crock pot. But the elk heart bruschetta is probably one of my favorite ways to have elk heart.
And I'm over here kind of drooling right now, KJ, because I've been looking for a good heart recipe. I had went with Sako Rifles. We were in Finland and we had reindeer heart and it was outstanding. And I've been looking for a good recipe ever since then. So I'm excited to find your recipe.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But the elk, another way to do it that I had in Canada was so you devein the heart and you trim it up real nice. You cut it in half, and then you marinate it in whatever marinade you really like. Then some beef stock broth, and then you put it in a crock pot with the stovetop stuffing. You stuff the heart with stovetop stuffing, and you crock pot that into the heart, and it almost tastes just like a roast. When I do it in a crock pot, it's typically it tastes like it's a roast. It's freaking amazing.
Sounds pretty good.
It's not bad at all, but there's elk is probably one of my favorites. I would have to say, out of the wild game that we talk about and that we eat on the regular, moose is way up there. But elk is probably number one in my family. They always look forward to it. We have a half of a freezer full. We're almost out.
Yeah. And that's one that I try to experiment and stuff like that. And coming onto the show, I asked Hank, what's the favorite recipe with elk? And he said elk pot pies, because I make those sometimes. And I'll pre-make them and freeze them. And he loves that. Leah, my daughter, she loves what we call cracker meat. And it's basically just breaded and fried stew meat chunks. Yep. And that's her favorite. I had shared one, and you even commented on it, I think, and it was spicy elk ramen.
Yeah.
And it's not like your 99-cent ramen packet or however much they cost now. But I have that recipe on my website. And that you don't get leftovers because the ramen doesn't freeze very well. So you need to make sure you eat it all. But I will have no problem. That's my favorite.
I will have no problem doing that. And we tried the spicy elk ramen, and it was really freaking good. I couldn't believe how good it was. But anyway, well, all right, Mia, thank you for joining us. And we're going to jump over to Mr. Chris Ellis of Timney Triggers. Now, Chris, we had a conversation beforehand about what your specialty is, and I couldn't think of a better person to either cook up a squirrel or fry up a turkey. So talk about smaller game and how you're preparing those and what you look for and how you take care of it.
Well, after following Miss Elk there, it might be a little difficult, but I will try. Because I'm leaving Friday for the opener of squirrel season in Kentucky. That's just a little aside.
I knew there was some angle.
I know. No, but I have served, I cook wild game almost every week for myself and my family. And I've got a couple really good intro to wild game that has just proven well over the years. Let's talk about squirrels first.
Yeah.
You just talked about care in the field is vitally important to squirrels as much as it is to elk, whitetail, everything. And if you're going to take a game animal, turn it into a meat, and turn meat into a meal, it starts in the field, period. So I carry a pair of game shears with me that a good buddy of mine gave me about 25 years ago on a squirrel hunt with dogs. And I clean them as soon as it's right at the tree. Yeah. So I cool down a cavity as fast as possible. I keep a little Ziploc with me. That way, when I get home and I'm tired and I'm worn out, the meat's already good to go. I like to brine it a little bit with whatever brine you like. The squirrel, like to brine it and let it age a little bit, a couple days or whatever. Okay. And then here's my go-to. So then I take my shears and I cut it into quarters.
Right.
And if you grew up like I did, the back, you throw that in there because that's the tenderloins of a squirrel. So you have those pieces, and then you stack those pieces in a crock pot like bricks. Okay. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. Low and slow. I don't know, 4 to 6 hours, depending on the size of the squirrel. If you got big fox squirrels, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you've got young of the year squirrels, it doesn't take very long, but usually 4 to 6 hours. At this point, you can peel the meat. Think about pulled pork or shredded pork at this point.
Right.
So then if it's tailgate time or backyard party time or it's back to school time and you got a bunch of people coming over, whatever, you can refrigerate that if you want to, or you can go right into the deal. But what you make out of that is street tacos. And they are so if you put it in the cooler, if you take the meat and let it cool down, you put it in the cooler and you're going to a tailgate, right? Go herd, and you're sitting there serving food to all your friends and undergraduates and that kind of stuff. You just take your skillet, think about a carnita, you just put a little oil on there, you just kind of crisp the squirrel up, and then you've got all the fixings for a soft taco, and it is a crowd favorite because they're like, hey, this is wonderful, what is it? And I'm like, it's squirrel meat, and they're like, I love it, because it takes on the consistency of a carnita, of a pork recipe.
Right. So your reaction to that is typically pretty positive?
Very positive. Yeah. I mean, usually I let them know, I don't want to embarrass anybody. I let them know, it's a chicken of the trees, man. It's squirrel meat. Come on.
The chicken of the trees was the turkey. Or that's the thunder chicken of the trees.
Come on. I mean, my kids got me that. That's how much squirrels we eat. If you're going to go squirrel hunting as much as I do, yes, they're phenomenal table fare. I've always been now, if it's wintertime and you want to do the squirrel and dumplings, or if you want to do the squirrel pot pie, nothing wrong with that. The squirrel and cathead biscuits and gravy are fantastic. You just happened to hit me at the end of summer when I'm kind of fishing and getting ready to go squirrel hunting again. So I gave you a couple summertime early fall tailgate recipes.
I love it. I had never thought about doing a slow cooker for squirrels. It makes sense though.
Phenomenal, and it's easy too, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about my other passion in this world, if I can jump, are wild turkeys.
Yes.
Okay.
I got to know your brine on this one.
Okay, so wild turkeys. If you come to my house and I like you're going to get a wild turkey breast recipe, right? Uh-huh. You're either going to get the fried turkey sandwich or the turkey nuggets, or you're going to get. But if I'm just serving a bunch of people, I go with the leg and thighs.
Okay.
Again, one of my favorite parts of the turkey that sometimes people use and sometimes people don't. Same with pheasants.
Yeah.
But what I do is after, a very successful spring gobbler season, I'll have hopefully 2 or 3 turkeys down, and I'll have, their legs and thighs. At that point, I brine the turkey, just easy, right? A little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt, a little bit of clove, a little bit of anything that just kind of gives it some aromatic.
Right.
So what I do is I take that out of the brine, pat it dry, and then I got to braise these things for a long, long time. So, and I keep them on the bone. So I put them up. I'm easy, man. I'm lazy. So I stick it in a crock pot with some chicken stock. With the bone in there, you're actually making turkey bone broth.
Yeah.
But you need a little bit. Throw your aromatics in there, your onions, carrots, celery, whatever. Turn that sucker on, let it run overnight.
Okay.
And let it sit there and braise and braise and braise. Next morning when you wake up, let it cool. Now you're at the same consistency of shredded like you did your squirrels.
Yeah.
At this point, there's your street tacos. Perfect. There's your carnitas. Perfect. I don't know about fajitas. Mia, maybe there's your fajitas. But that's an easy way to take a lesser part of the turkey and of squirrel and turn it into a crowd favorite, because everybody likes a big taco bar, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I went to a wedding the other day and there was a taco bar. I was like,
okay. So one thing with turkey is I notice if you're frying it or you're just grilling it, it can dry out fairly quick.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the one fear that I always have with it. But when I brine it, so back in Oklahoma, like you can go to an Atwoods. It's like a local farm store type deal. It's kind of central, like Oklahoma, Texas area, and they've got these garlic, like spicy garlic pickles. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I save all that like pickle juice after season, and then spring turkey season, I use it to brine my turkey. Like, so all my turkey nuggets, I'll leave it in there for 2 to 3 days, and it is phenomenal. You deep fry it, and then you serve it with a little bit of ranch dressing. Unbelievable. I'll do the
Yeah.
same thing with alligator. Exact same thing.
Same thing. My kids, when they were growing up, they used to call them Chick-fil-A. Dad, I want some Chick-fil-A turkey. And the same thing. I would take dill pickle juice.
Yep.
You know, once I got the turkey breast and tenderloin out, cube it up, let it sit over there overnight in pickle juice. Same thing you're doing. At that time, you just mix up some seasoned flour and some good peanut oil and put those in the grease jacuzzi until they get good floaty. Oh, and then a little bit of, like you said, just a little bit of Chick-fil-A sauce, which is basically mayonnaise and anything that sounds good, seasonal, whatever. And the kids are just.
I am getting so hungry right now. Like, we went from elk fajitas to freaking squirrel street tacos, and now we're on to fried turkey. I love it. All right. I'm starving here, and I know you guys are, the mouth is watering also. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in here with a real quick word from our sponsors, then we'll jump right back in it. Looking to trim a few LBs out of your pack or just your firearm? Check out the Savage 110 Carbon Predator. 2 swing swivel studs, matte black carbon steel receiver, 2-piece Weaver style bases, proof research barrel. Yeah, it's carbon wrap, so that's where some of the weight savings is going to come. And you won't be disappointed because they offer it in a lot of different variations. 6mm arc, 223 Remington, 22-250, a favorite of mine, 308, 65 Creedmoor, and 300 Blackout. Now, you're talking about weight. You're talking about, well, how much really is it going to weigh? Trust me, you're going to be able to carry this thing all day. It's under that 7-pound range, so I promise you it's accurate too. So trust Savage 110 Carbon Predator for all your weight savings. First Person Defender YouTube page is out. You got to go like, comment, and subscribe, and I promise you, you're going to like what you see over there because you are going to get a view. Each week, we're going to be launching new episodes. Season 14 is coming out soon, so get over there and check it out. You got to like, comment, and subscribe. We want to push this thing out because we want more people becoming more aware of their personal safety. If you like tips, tactics, watching people and seeing how they react, and you being the Monday morning quarterback that you are, I know you're going to love it because you're going to say, whoa, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done it totally different. Well, would you have? Because I'm going to be honest with you right now. There are a lot of people out there that says, I'm going to just turn it on. I'm going to know when my attack comes. Well, if you know when your attack is coming, I sure as heck wouldn't be there. But watching First Person Defender gives you the opportunity to say, yep, I wouldn't be in that situation because I'm going to see it way before that. And you're training your mind. All right. So go like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube page over there. The First Person Defender is going to be hot. Feel like your trigger's holding you back more than your ex? Fix that with the Timney Alpha competition trigger for the Ruger RXM. It's got a crisp 3-pound pull, no adjustments, no drama, just pure, smooth performance. It installs easier than IKEA furniture and comes fully hand-assembled, tested, and calibrated by real humans, not robots or over-caffeinated raccoons. Made in the USA and backed by a legendary lifetime warranty, yes, it will make you more accurate. The rest is on you. Looking to level up your hunt and tighten up those groups? Well, look no further than Remington Ammo. Yeah, the stuff in the green box is super accurate, and they've got everything from hunting ammo all the way to NRL, like match ammo. So check those out. Remington Premier, from Premier Tip AccuTip to match grade ammunition, all in that green box you love, you trust, and you adore. Find it all at remington.com. Hey, get your heads up. Heads up, right up here. Tactical treasure hunters, beware. Optics Planet just became your new favorite adult toy store for gear. Let's get that out of the way. Want scopes, red dots, night vision, and stuff totally you probably don't need but will absolutely buy anyway? Yeah, I thought so. Use promo code GUNTALK at checkout and get 5% off your order. That's right, 5%. Not 2, not 3, 5. Like the fingers you'll use to type that code in while pretending this wasn't my idea. So go to Optics Planet, check it out, enter code GUNTALK, and get your 5% off. All right, we are back with Gun Talk Hunt, and we are whetting our appetite for wild game, and we're going to go to Beth Szymanski with Savage Arms. Beth, let's talk venison, because whitetail is the most sought after game animal out there if you talk about statistics and how many people hunt them. But let's talk about preparation and what you're going to be doing with venison on the table.
Absolutely. And I think, the previous guests, all mentioned it, and it starts in the field, and Mia's absolutely right. Shot placement is crucial to how the meat's going to end up. Hopefully a quick ethical kill and not a lot of adrenaline running through that whitetail. So it starts in the field, exactly like me and Chris said, get that game cooled down, get it dressed, get it hanging if you have the flexibility to do that before you start processing it. But when we're out in the field, we're on a lot of hunts at outfitters where we're kind of quick in, quick out. A lot of times you don't have time to let the meat rest and sit and hang like you would, prefer. So like I said, I think how you treat it, how you get it cooled down, and then as soon as you can get it processed to however you're going to want to use it in the end.
So I have a question. Are you a process it your own type of person, or are you a take it to a deer processor and then go basically down a menu and check off what you want and then pick it up?
I've started processing my own. So you and I have talked about this. I'm a newer hunter. I'm 8 years into my hunting journey. And one of the things that I wanted to do was understand the process tip to tail. And that means for me, how I manage, treat the game, and ultimately cook it and share it with family and friends. So I've got this set up in my garage. I'll take my time with it when I got my elk. I've only gotten one elk so far, but I think it took me a month of weekends just kind of staggering it out, taking my time to make sure I was doing it right. But I think for me, it just kind of fulfills the end of that process. I know exactly what's in my meat. I know where it was. I've driven to hunts long distances so I can bring the meat back with me. And it's just become an important part of my hunting journey.
So I started out that guy. Like I went through, my gosh, my college years, my early professional career. Like that's all I did. I shoot it that weekend. I process it, the weekend after. Like I was that guy. But I have found that in Cajun country, they know really good recipes on how to process deer. Like you got your boudin. They got all different kinds, all their different smoked sausages. They have like one that's like a blueberry maple. It tastes like you're eating maple covered like blueberry pancakes, but it's meat form and it's delicious. Most delicious thing you'll ever eat.
Yeah, so and that's where I'll throw a caveat in. I have not gotten if it's boning out and roasts and burger and some of that stuff. But I do have a really good processor. They're about 3 hours away, worth the drive, because exactly to your point, if I'm doing sticks or sausage or something that's a little bit outside of what I'm set up to do, I will definitely take some game over there, and they do a great job.
Well, I don't see why you wouldn't. That's just kind of my thing. Like I love it because it even gets more people out, and I keep the traditional cuts, the roasts, the backstraps, the loins, and all that good stuff. Like I keep that, and then I cook that on my own. But what are you doing since you're processing your own? What types of meat or cuts do you like to cook, and what are you doing with them?
So I do a lot of roast. So it's just two of us at home, so I'm not feeding a family. So I usually, and that's the other thing I like controlling, is I can kind of cut down the size of the meat until I know I'm cooking for two, or if we want leftovers, depending on what I'm making. I do a lot of roasts, long, slow cooking of it. But my favorite recipe is actually a stir fry. So we heard elk tacos and fajitas, and I think cutting the meat, cooking it fast is, what's I've learned that I really like to do. So my favorite recipe is it's a venison stir fry. And there's two reasons I like it. One, it's actually really healthy. Yeah. Two, you can control the amount of flavor you put into it, because if I make it for someone who maybe doesn't like the taste of venison, there's things like broccoli, radicchio, shallots, mushrooms, black bean garlic sauce, ginger. Yeah. So it infuses all of these different flavors. And if I have someone over who's maybe a little hesitant, it kind of does a good job of masking some of that gaminess that they may taste in the meat, while still letting the meat shine for those that want to really enjoy that. So I'll usually do a backstrap or shoulder roast or something and just slice it up. But that's kind of my go-to recipe right now. Oh. And it takes about 25 minutes to make, which at the end of the day is pretty ideal.
Time. I'm big on saving time on those recipes for sure. So I'll marinate a backstrap. So I'll marinate it up. I butterfly it, split it open, and then I'll lay a layer of cream cheese on it, and then a layer of chutney. Or any jam that you like if it's a strawberry, it's a blueberry, whatever it is, but a jam. And then, of course, you got to wrap it in bacon and then just bake it. And that turns out fantastic. I'll marinate it usually in a light Italian dressing, just to not overpower it. But that is a phenomenal recipe. I recommend everybody try. Cook it till it's medium rare. Do not overcook it, because when you start overcooking stuff, is when you dry it out, you dry up a lot of flavor, I think. Do you find the same thing?
I do, and I think that's one of the things that I've learned as I've started to cook more wild game is, pull it off when it's 125, 130. If I let it get much more than that, it's a toughness. Like you said, you lose some of the flavor. And I think when I grew up, that was some of my perceptions of wild game, is because that's how it was prepared for me, probably a little overdone. But yeah, the other thing that I've noticed is sometimes I'll forget what I'm making for dinner and I don't take meat out in time. So I'll throw it in some warm water, let it come to temperature. I've learned that if I can let the meat take time to come to temperature, a couple days in the fridge, let it come to room temperature, take it 30 minutes out before I'm going to cook it. That also helps keep the flavor and keep some of that moisture in the meat as well. So besides temperature, I think it's how you treat the meat, as you're prepping, the couple days before you're going to cook it.
Yeah, that's so smart. It's just the way to do it and the way you care. And as we're kind of wrapping up, we talk about, what you're hunting and pairing that with, to bring out those flavors. I'm going to tell a quick story here, and you're going to laugh, Beth. So when I was younger, I didn't realize how much that their environment and what they eat affected how they taste. And so my dad brings home a bear that my uncle had shot that had been eating salmon.
Yeah.
Do not do that, because those oils, it's all the oils that they're eating. If a bear's been eating berries or oats, that's a good bear. But my gosh, it was the worst bear I've ever tasted in my life. Do not want to experience that again.
Noted.
It was horrible. Just horrible. All right. Well, hey, I really do appreciate you guys for joining in with us today here on Gun Talk Hunt. If you have a favorite recipe, email me. Get it to me, kj@guntalk.com. We'll share them out. We'll get everybody's. Who knows? We might even do a recipe book one day, because I'm telling you, the squirrel tacos sound delicious. The elk fajitas sound amazing. And Beth, my gosh, give me some more stir fry. When I come over, you're going to be cooking that for me, I promise you. But that's it for us on this Gun Talk Hunt. As always, Gun Talk Hunters, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction, and always be on the hunt.